Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something fascinating, maybe a little unsettling, brainwashing. And look, we're not talking about the movie version, the cartoon villains.
Yeah.
It's often much slipperier than that. Our goal here is to really explore that fine line between real education and other kinds of influence, the kind you might find even where intentions seem, well, neutral or maybe even noble.
Exactly. And that's why this is so important, I think, because genuine learning and subtle manipulation, they can both feel incredibly exciting, maybe disorienting, sometimes, yeah, even life-changing while you're in it, that aha moment feeling. It makes it so hard to tell them apart right then and there. Hopefully, by the end of this, you'll have a few more tools so as to distinguish between the two.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. Brainwashing. What are we actually talking about at its core? Is it basically a process that just overrides what you already believe, installs something new, something that maybe clashes with your old views, and then, crucially, it kind of stops you wanting to question it? It works on that internal voice, right? What you tell yourself.
That's a good way to put it. It's about reprogramming that internal dialogue. But here's the really fascinating part. It doesn't always start with, like, bad intentions, malice. Think about a really wise teacher, a strict mentor maybe, someone pushing you hard because they genuinely think it's the best way for you, or a spiritual guide helping someone shed old beliefs for a clean slate, for new truths. Even parents, right? Raising kids with a very specific worldview, trying to protect them. That means getting rid of old ideas, putting in new ones. That mechanism can look surprisingly similar, whether the aim is kindness or control.
Whoa, okay. Comparing, say, parenting or spiritual teaching to the mechanisms of brainwashing, that feels,
Family.
well, uncomfortable. Are you really saying the process itself is identical, even if the intent is totally different?
It is uncomfortable. And that's exactly why we need to look at it. We're dissecting the how, you see, not always the why or the moral weight behind it. The difficult truth is, even with the best intentions, even when a teacher truly believes they're helping, the methods used can have unintended consequences. Side effects that, yeah, you share traits with more obvious control tactics.
Okay, that's where it gets really interesting for me. Side effects from good intentions. What does that look like?
Right. So one thing we see is dopamine loop conditioning.
Mm.
Think about getting those little bursts of quick wisdom
Mm.
online. Feels good, right? Like you're learning something profound. Often it's a quick hit, not deep work. It creates this false sense of knowing things,
Hmm.
mastery without the effort.
Like empty calories for the brain.
Exactly. You feel satisfied, but you're not actually nourished. Then there's dependency. If your teacher or your group or whatever is the only place you get insights, you might just stop thinking critically outside of that bubble, lose the initiative. And related to that, unquestioned authority. Healthy respect can slide into reverence, where you just don't dare question them. And that's often where you get what I call a philosophical payload.
Ah, the philosophical payload.
Yeah.
Explain that. It's like hidden code in the lesson.
Precisely. It's the invisible operating system running underneath the explicit teaching. It's not the surface lesson, it's the underlying assumptions about how the world works, about what's true or right. And these assumptions start shaping your thinking, often without you even noticing. It dictates how you see everything else.
Okay, so if it can feel similar, and even good intentions can have these hidden effects, how do you, the listener, actually spot the difference? What are the real markers? Education versus something leaning towards brainwashing.
Okay, let's try a direct comparison. Healthy teaching. It welcomes questions. Seriously, even questions about the teacher or the core ideas. Brainwashing tendencies. They discourage dissent, maybe even punish it subtly or overtly. Healthy teaching aims to give you the tools to think independently, forever. Brainwashing creates dependence on the source. Keep coming back. Transparency is key in healthy learning. Why are we learning this? What's the motivation? It's open. Brainwashing often hides or obscures the real why. Good teachers adapt. They meet your needs. Brainwashing demands you conform to its ideals. One size fits all. And this is a big one. Healthy teaching is fine if you only adopt part of it. Take what works. Brainwashing usually wants it all. Full acceptance. An entire worldview. Nothing less.
And it's crucial to remember this isn't just about, fringe groups or movies. These dynamics are everywhere in everyday life,
Yeah.
which creates these gray areas. Like, I get corporate training maybe fitting some of this, but
Yeah.
military service, lots of people would argue that's vital discipline, essential for cohesion, not about suppressing identity. How do you draw the line there? Or is it always blurry?
That's a perfect example of the gray zone challenge. It's almost always a spectrum, rarely black and white. Corporate onboarding,
Right.
yeah, it's skill building or identity molding for brand loyalty, or both?
Yeah.
Social media, infotainment education, or just feeding you biases to keep you scrolling?
Mm.
Military service discipline for the greater good.
Absolutely. Does it also involve suppressing some individuality for unit function? Probably necessarily so. Even therapy, is it empowering you or just swapping one dependency for another, say, on the program? So maybe a working definition for you to think about. Brainwashing is like belief engineering. It bypasses your critical thinking to install a worldview. And the effects. They could be good, bad, or mixed, and you often don't see the full picture until much later.
That phrase you used earlier keeps sticking with me, that both growth and manipulation can feel exciting, even life-changing. If the feeling is so similar, how do we actually know when we're right in the middle of it? How do I know if I'm being influenced in a controlling way? Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's why checking in with yourself, running some tests is so important. Let's call them pressure tests. Try these on yourself when you're learning something new or joining a group. First, the question test. Healthy learning. Questions get real answers. Maybe even, I don't know, brainwashing. Questions get deflected, maybe you feel bad for asking, or you get circular logic.
Okay, deflection is a red flag.
Big time. Second, the source test. Healthy places encourage you to look elsewhere. Read critics, compare ideas. Brainwashing, it warns you off outside sources. They're dangerous, they don't understand.
Keep you in the bubble.
Exactly. Third, the autonomy test. Healthy learning. You feel more capable on your own over time. Brainwashing. You feel less confident without the leader or group. Lost, maybe. Fourth, the flexibility test. Healthy. You can adapt ideas, take parts, disagree respectfully. Brainwashing. It's usually all or nothing, total adherence. Fifth, the time and distance test. Healthy lessons still make sense, still work for you, even when you step away. Brainwashing stuff often loses its power, feels confusing, without constant reinforcement. And last, the emotional energy test. Healthy learning, even if tough, leaves you feeling possibilities, expanded. Brainwashing. Questioning it or stepping back often brings up anxiety, guilt, fear, like you're failing.
Why is it so hard to tell in the moment, though?
Because both can give you those genuine aha moments. Both use stories, discipline maybe, both reshape how you see things. And let's be honest, if you really connect with a teacher or an idea emotionally, that connection can really cloud your judgment. I know I've looked back and realized, oh yeah, I definitely fell for some quick wisdom traps myself before I studied this.
That's incredibly helpful, actually, like a personal diagnostic kit. So let's take these ideas now and apply them, like a field guide. How does this play out in, say, schools, religion, politics, even with internet influencers?
Okay, yeah, let's apply those markers. In schools, healthy education is about debate, different viewpoints, teaching how to think, like a history class discussing the revolution's ideals and its economic drivers, warts and all. Brainwashing tendencies creep in when it's just one narrative, no nuance allowed, maybe subtle shaming for tough questions. A civics class that only praises the government, ignoring any flaws. That leans that way. Omission is tricky here. What gets left out matters.
Right, what isn't said.
Exactly. For religious views, healthy approach explores interpretations, respects other paths, teaches ethics without using fear as the main tool. Think diverse study groups. Brainwashing uses us versus them, claims the only truth, controls with guilt or fear of damnation for leaving. Devotion itself is tricky. It can feel like healthy surrender, but becomes dangerous if it cuts off critical thought or demands blind obedience.
Politics feels like a minefield for this.
Oh, absolutely. Healthy political discussion acknowledges flaws on all sides, uses facts from diverse sources. Think of course comparing systems using data. Brainwashing demands total party loyalty, cherry-picks facts, makes your identity tied to the group. Campaign ads using fear, demonizing opponents instead of discussing policy. Classic signs. Politics is inherently persuasive, so the slide into manipulation is easy.
And influencers online.
Huge area. Healthy ones encourage fact-checking, critical thinking, transparency about bias or sponsors, like an economist explaining trends with sources. Brainwashing tendencies, fostering that fake friendship, that parasocial thing, creating echo chambers, using drama for engagement, a lifestyle guru making you feel out if you don't buy their stuff. That's pressure, often using social status. Charisma and algorithms make this super tricky.
So quick test for yourself, maybe?
Yeah, like a quick visual litmus test. Ask yourself, can I find credible opposing views without feeling guilty or scared? If I stop following this for 6 months, would the core ideas still make sense and help me? Am I learning how to think, or just what to think? And does disagreeing make me curious or anxious?
Powerful questions. Okay, let's shift focus slightly. What about the person doing the influencing who genuinely believes they're doing good, the well-intentioned manipulator? We probably all know someone like that.
Yes, the well-intentioned manipulator. This is one of the most complex and, frankly, common dynamics. These people often deeply believe they have the truth and are helping. Their very sincerity can make them more persuasive, more controlling. Why does this happen? Well, their belief becomes absolute certainty. So if you disagree, it doesn't just feel like a difference of opinion. It feels like you're choosing error, maybe even danger. They get really attached to the outcome. Your conversion proves them right. It validated them. If you don't fully buy in, it can feel like a personal failure to them. Often there's a genuine fear for you, so they think they're saving you from harm, so any method feels justified. And when you do adopt their view, big validation hit for them. Reinforces their methods.
So what are the signs you're dealing with this type? Besides the intense sincerity.
Look for really strong defensive reactions if you question their beliefs or methods. They might interpret your disagreement as a moral failing on your part. They might use stories about people who strayed lost sheep narratives as warnings. And often, there's a kind of conditional care. They love you if you stay on their path. It's dangerous because that sincerity is disarming. It bypasses your critical filters way easier than open manipulation. They justify their actions to themselves. The ends justify the means. And they resist feedback. Criticism feels like an attack on their very mission. It becomes a loop. Teach from love. You agree. Validation. Double down. More control. Often without them even seeing it.
How does that contrast with a truly healthy teacher or mentor?
A true teacher, even one who cares deeply, they're ultimately willing to let you go your own way, even if they disagree. Their self-worth isn't tied to your compliance. They see your questions, your independence, as signs of your agency, not as rejection of them.
Okay, this inevitably leads to the listener asking themselves, could I be doing this? If you're a parent, a manager, a friend, anyone with influence, how do you check yourself? How do you make sure you're educating, not unintentionally brainwashing?
You absolutely have to turn that radar inward. It requires real honesty. Ask yourself questions in 3 areas: intent, method, impact. First, your intent. Are you more invested in getting agreement than in fostering independent thought? Seriously. Would you be okay if someone took only part of your advice? Do you secretly feel people are lost without your exact view? Would you still share this knowledge if you got 0 credit?
Those are tough questions.
They are. Second, your method. Do you actively point people towards views that contradict yours? When faced with hard questions, do you explore them openly or steer back to safety? Do you use guilt, fear, shame, even subtly? Can you easily say, I don't know, or I changed my mind? Do you control information or empower them to find it?
And the impact.
Right. Third, your impact. Are the people you influence becoming more independent or more dependent on you? Can they explain their own reasoning in their own words? If they left your orbit tomorrow, would they have the skills and confidence to navigate? Is the main result of your influence their growth or their loyalty to you?
And if you see some worrying signs in yourself,
The solutions usually involve deliberately shifting your approach. Make questioning and dissent normal, even celebrated. Actively share diverse, even opposing sources. Focus on teaching skills how to think, how to analyze not just what to think. Consciously work to separate your ego from their choices. And build what I call exit ramps. Make it clear they can take what works, leave the rest, and still have your respect.
that's a really practical framework. Let's ground this in a super common experience. Parenting. Parents guide, shape, protect. We use shortcuts, white lies sometimes, especially with young kids. Is that just necessary? Or is this dynamic playing out? Feels like a constant tightrope walk.
It absolutely is a tightrope. Parenting is maybe the ultimate gray zone for this. And yes, sometimes those brainwashing-like tactics feel necessary. Why? Kids have cognitive limits. Complex ideas are just too much sometimes. Don't touch the hot stove is easier than explaining heat transfer. There's safety urgency, no time for nuance when a child runs towards the road. And we use behavioral scaffolding things like Santa might encourage sharing temporarily. It's likely healthy when it's truly age-appropriate, and crucially, when you plan to replace it later with more nuance. The goal is protection or skill building, not just control. Telling a kid monsters aren't real while still checking under the bed, that's scaffolding security. It gets problematic when those shortcuts stick around too long, when genuine questions are shut down, or when the main goal becomes enforcing your worldview above all else. Teaching prejudice like all people from X group are bad, that's harmful indoctrination, not scaffolding.
You mentioned something earlier. Inertia in authority. Does that play a big role here, especially for tired parents?
Huge role. That inertia is powerful. When you're the authority parent, boss, whatever, it's just easier to use shortcuts. Why? Cognitive load parenting is exhausting. Complex explanations take energy you might not have. Authority comfort, it feels easier to just state things than to negotiate or explain. Survival mode bias stress makes us default to the quickest familiar path. And perceived urgency, just do it now. This creates that dilemma. Demand obedience, you might get dependence. Allow too much questioning, you might feel respect eroding. Finding that balance is tough. The trap is that these shortcuts, born of necessity or exhaustion, can become the default way you interact. That erodes trust in independent thinking over time.
You know, that inertia thing, it really resonates. It's not always that they can't handle the truth. Sometimes that we don't feel equipped to explain it calmly right then. The shortcut feels safer for us.
Exactly, you've hit it. We adjust not just for their readiness, but for our own capacity in that moment. We might underestimate them, overestimate the difficulty of explaining, and we're managing our own stress. So the shortcut wins. It avoids vulnerability, preserves the power dynamic. But repeated shortcuts mean they never get the full story. Trust can suffer. So how do we manage this better, especially in the moment? A few cognitive solutions. 1. The tiered explanation. Give a simple, true slice now. Promise more later. Please help keep people safe later. It's complicated, and sometimes there are problems with policing too. 2. The truth with a bookmark. Acknowledge complexity openly. That's a big topic. Let's talk properly when we both have time and can think clearly. Shows respect. 3. Ask for their readiness. Short answer, a long answer right now. Empowers them. 4. Practice neutralization phrasing. Avoid dismissive language. Instead of "you won't get it," try "this needs careful explanation. Can we revisit it?" And 5. Build a habit of micro-updates. Share bits of complex truth casually over time. Make nuance feel normal, not like a special stressful event.
Those are really practical tools for bridging that gap.
So pulling it all together, education empowers, brainwashing controls. That's the core distinction.
Yeah.
The difference often isn't dramatic, it's subtle. Emotional cues, who controls the information flow, and crucially, does disagreement strengthen the relationship through understanding or weaken it through fear or guilt? And remember, good intentions aren't immunity. People can unintentionally manipulate if they're driven by a need to save others, measure success by agreement, or use dependency tactics. Keep checking yourself. Are you fostering independence, welcoming diverse views, separating your ego from their choices, building those exit ramps?
And maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on. Influence isn't a right you automatically have, it's a responsibility. The more power or authority you hold as a parent, leader, teacher, even just a trusted friend, the more vital it is to deliberately slow down, question yourself, and importantly, let others question you. It's not about endless debate, but about leaning towards transparency, being adaptable, showing humility, making sure your influence is truly about fostering their growth, not just about what feels easiest or most validating for you.